Hello. Maybe you came to this YouTube because somebody kind of virtually dragged you here and you may be coming skeptical. Well, our motto for tonight is come skeptical, leave inspired, because tonight you are going to hear 4 real life stories of hope. So if you need to grab a tissue, go ahead and do it because tonight is going to leave you very, very inspired. According to Inc. magazine, 71% of people want to eat healthier, lose some weight, exercise more, make better food choices. And about 50% of people want to earn more money or save more money. So health and financial goals are super popular, especially this time of year. Maybe you even set some for yourself. But did you know that only 8% of people actually reach the goals that they set for themselves each year? That number honestly surprised me because, to tell you the truth, the community that I'm a part of and the people that I get to talk to on a daily basis, they're in that 8%. So much so that I just thought it was a normal thing to go after goals and reach them. So I hope that tonight, as you listen, you'll hear what it takes to be one of those 8%. Because I'll let you in on a little secret. It doesn't mean that they're better than anybody watching. It simply is a matter of a few things you're going to hear. The first one is that they had clear goals for their life. The second one, they joined some accountability, a tribe of people that would have their back and cheer them on. And then third, they added in some top-notch plant-based life fuel supplements known as Plexus that we're going to talk about tonight. So listen, even if you're skeptical, and hear these stories. First, I get to introduce you to Allison. She's got a husband, 2 kids, and a stepson who they love to go to the mountains in the winter. She first heard about Plexus 9 years ago, and her response was rolling her eyes because she had already tried so many different things. But listen to this, you guys. She finally gave it a try, and she has lost 93 pounds, 115 inches, all because she decided to get over her skepticism. She now goes to the bathroom like a normal person. Her skin has improved. She has energy. She doesn't crave soda or fast food anymore. And she just feels good and comfortable in her own skin. So, Allison, will you take us back to that time of eye rolling and unhealthy life and how you felt and what Plexus did for you?
Yeah, so my routine in the morning on my way to my 8 to 5 was stop at the gas station. I got a soda, I got a cappuccino, usually a bag of chips, a candy, a Slim Jim. I mean, spent stupid money on junk, and then carried myself to work. And then I worked, the place where I worked at was right next to a store that had all the same junk. So when I needed a break, I would go there and get more junk. Just kind of out of habit and out of break. And so when I saw a friend post about Plexus on Facebook, she actually posted something like, I just started this pink drink. I hope I lose weight like yesterday. And I just kind of laughed and I'm like, yeah, don't we all? And I just kind of watched because I wanted to see what she was going to come back and have to say. I had tried different diet programs, different food programs that were just so unrealistic that you couldn't stick to it longer than a couple of days. Doctor prescribed diet pills that were just, I call them the devil now, like just anything to try to lose weight. So I rolled my eyes and waited. And then when she came back 2 weeks later and said that she had lost, so much weight in the 2 weeks, but not only that, she had more energy and she was feeling better. That's when I was like, okay, well, maybe I should ask about it.
So then when you gave it a try, what all did you notice? How did it change your life?
Okay, you want me to go into the whole both sides now? Like
Sure,
everything?
go for it. You can.
Okay, so I reached out to her, and this is the funny story, and I tell people this is a lesson here. So I reached out to her and I'm like, okay, I want to try that stuff that you're using. And she said, okay, cool. I don't sell it. My cousin does. Here's her information. Get in touch with her and she will hook you up. Now, around that time, to kind of just talk about my financials, it was tax season. So it was April 2011 when I joined. I was a single mom. I had just gotten a tax refund. And honestly, I feel like that's the reason why I had the extra money to put towards something for myself. Because as moms, we know making ourselves a priority is tough, but it's so necessary. So I reached out to her cousin, who then delivered me a little baggie of Slim Sticks back then, and I was ready to try the products. To give you a little bit more insight to my financial situation before Plexus, I was a single mom. I was working my regular 8 to 5, and then I had 2 side jobs. I discovered credit cards and kind of just, I wasn't buying fun shoes with my credit cards. Let's just say that I wasn't buying fun shoes. It was just credit cards to kind of try to help me to get by, because I was doing everything on my own, and I was going to figure it out on my own. And so I kind of fell in what I like to call the government gap. And what I think the government gap is people who are out there busting their tail, working hard and barely getting by, but they can't really get any help. But then they have the other people who are not, and they get all the help. Well, I fell just in that category where you make too much money, but not necessarily enough to really get by or create like a good life for my son and I without working all the time and sacrificing so much time away from him. So reached out to her. She referred me to her cousin. I bought some Slims, started taking the products, and actually it was in conversation with my mom and dad. I started telling them, I'm taking this stuff. I really like this stuff. And my dad says, wait, that's that stuff. And he named a lady. That's that stuff that she does. And she really does well with the products, but she also does well with the business. And he kind of just said, Allison, this could be a blessing for you. And I know it was God, and I know it was a blessing because my dad knows zero about network marketing. He knew zero about any of that, but he's the one who kind of gave me the nudge to really like, why can't you do this if she can? So that's kind of how I got started on my journey. And do you want me to keep going and put in the afters, or do you want me to wait?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the health transformations. And then I love what you've been able to say. I know I remember you say you got started with your dad's encouragement and help, and what you've been able to do for them and your family through sharing it.
Yeah. So starting the products felt really good. And I knew pretty quickly that, one, I was putting something way healthier into my body than I had before. And 2, I was feeling a difference. I was feeling a difference in my moods. I was feeling a difference in my energy, my appetite, all of those things. So that, along with it's not fix it all, right? It's a tool. So that, along with me listening to my body and making the changes that my body was wanting me to make, I reached 93 pounds lost, over 100 inches, the 115 inches. I mean, just the difference in my inflammation in my face, my skin. I'm just overall so much healthier. My husband's also lost about 25 pounds. My son uses the products, and it has been huge for his immune system. Like his immune system with, I'm going to be super compliant, right? His immune system with like his asthma and all the different things he was going through. It's just been a huge blessing to him for his health too.
I love that. I love it. So the health has been a blessing for you. The finances have been a blessing for you. And overall, are you glad you said yes and stopped being a skeptic?
Oh, yeah, for sure. My life today is a life that I probably wouldn't even have dreamed of whenever I started this journey. All the things we've been able to do financially, all the ways we've been able to give back, just truly, like this year, we should be 100% debt free before we even turn 35, and just really allowing us to set up a future for our kids. Like that's my biggest goal, is having a future set up for my kids, college, all the things, so that hopefully, what I've done motivates them and just really encourages them to go out there, work hard, and set up a good life for yourself.
I love it. So she's almost 100 pounds lighter, 100% debt free, and living a life she dreamed of. So next you get to hear from Emily, who loves being warm inside of her dream home, watching it snow in Utah with her hubby, 4 kids, and her King Charles Cavalier fur baby. 4 years ago, when she heard about Plexus, she thought it sounded like another diet that wouldn't work, but she finally trusted her friend and gave it a try. And since then, it's helped her with her migraines, hair loss, milk supply, sleep, and so much more. It's honestly helped her with everything except making parenting any easier or making her kids less quiet. Emily, can you take us back to that place where you were skeptical and tell us how you felt and then what the health transformation did for you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me tonight. And Allison, I just loved hearing your story. It's so inspiring to me to hear of someone that can lose that much weight and change their life. It's incredible. So congratulations to you. I'm just admire you so much. And I will have to say, my loud kids might come in while we're talking. So I know you'll have grace for the mom life. So I started Plexus 4 years ago. And like Brooke said, I was just had a problem in my life. And the problem was I had just had my fourth baby. My kids were 7, 5, 3, and 4 months old. And my biggest problem was we had no money, and I had fully planned to feed my baby for free with breast milk for a year. It was already a burden to bring a fourth child into our home financially, but we knew that we were supposed to have another baby, that this child was something that God wanted us to have. And so we did it anyway, not knowing how we were going to pay for him or any of those things. And in my mind, I thought, if I can just nurse for a year, then we will have, we'll figure out the rest later. And so 4 months into nursing him, I had all of my kids start school, second grader, kindergartner, preschooler, and a breastfeeding baby. And I lost it. Like, I couldn't open the door. I couldn't answer the phone. I was reeked with nerves. I was scared to get out of bed in the morning. I felt like my chest was beating 1,000 pounds. It took me an hour to literally talk myself out of bed, not only because of those feelings that I had, but also because I was so exhausted. I used to tell my husband that I was the kind of tired that sleep couldn't fix. I could sleep 2 hours or 10 hours. It didn't really matter. I was just so beyond tired. And I can live with tired though. I can live with being anxious. But what I couldn't live with was the thought of having to spend hundreds of dollars a month on formula. So when I saw my friend Brooke, not this Brooke here, but a different Brooke that lived in Hawaii, she posted about Plexus, and she was an ICU nurse. Her husband was an ER doctor, and she was someone who was very anti-supplements. She was the poster child for just exercise and eat right, and you don't need vitamins. Like, do not take vitamins. And so when she posted about Plexus and that it had helped her with her milk supply, and it had helped her with all of the things that I was struggling with, I remember messaging her and saying, I mean, I need to hear about this stuff. And does it really help you with your milk supply? And she said, well, I mean, my experience has been that it has, but you should try it for yourself. So for a month, I sat and I watched her and I messaged her, and I was really mad that she was a rich doctor's wife that could afford something so great and that I couldn't. Because at the time, my husband was working 3 jobs, 6 days a week, and we were barely getting by. We had $75,000 of student loans from his doctorate degree. We had $30,000 in credit card debt. And I really related to what Allison said about that, because we were not going on trips or buying fancy things. That credit card debt was for the tires on the car. And when the furnace and the air conditioner both broke on the same day, when my daughter broke her wrist and we had to go to the ER. We are self-employed, so that means you pay for everything in cash and you pay another mortgage payment for your monthly premium. So we had a $1,400 insurance premium. And then we had to pay $16,000 out of pocket before they helped with anything. But like good citizens, we paid for insurance because we wanted to follow the law and do all of those things. And that left us with no money. And my husband literally just slept at our house. We would joke, oh, this is my house. You just sleep here. And I desperately was so upset because I remember thinking, this is not the American dream that I worked so so hard for. We're both college educated. We owned a home, and it was not the life that we wanted. And so for me, even groceries were a burden. And I got to the point where I just felt like, you know what, I'm either going to spend $150 on formula, or I'm going to spend $150 on Plexus. It probably won't work. Maybe I'll lose a couple pounds. Secretly, I never admitted that to anyone else, but secretly I was like, well, I did just have my 4th baby, but I'm not doing a diet, and this stuff won't work for that anyway. But if I lost 2 or 3 pounds, I wouldn't hate it. And so I tried the products, and within 2 weeks, I woke up for the first time in my whole life without my chest beating like I couldn't breathe. I didn't know that when you woke up in the morning, it was normal to just breathe and feel like you could get out of bed, because from childhood, I would tell my mom, my heart is just getting started. I just need a few more minutes. And that was how it used to be in elementary school. My mom would wake me up an hour before I had to get out of bed because I was reeked with this, and nobody knew to diagnose it. Nobody knew what it was until 2 weeks into Plexus, I woke up for the first time breathing. And I got out of bed and I walked downstairs and I just felt electric. And I thought, for sure, this is not that Plexus stuff. Like, no, I'm sure that's not it. It's just placebo. I'm sure it's fine. And I got my kids ready for school, drank my pink drink in the pantry because I didn't want anyone to see that I was doing some diet thing or whatever. And so then I was kissing my kids out the door to school, and my daughter, who was 5 at the time, gave me a kiss and looked up at me and said, Mommy, you're not mean anymore. And then she ran out the door to school. And honestly, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. And I closed the door and I texted Sean and I said, I think I'm going to have to say something on Facebook about that Plexus stuff. And he's like, oh no, please don't. I'm like, no, I really think I have to. And so there's more to that story, but I don't know how much you want me to say right now, or if you want to ask another question.
No, I love that. And I think everyone can relate to that feeling of waking up and feeling those anxious feelings of a weight on your shoulder, of not being able to get enough sleep. Maybe mama's not having enough milk supply. So it changed your life. And I love that you pointed that out, because many people start as a secret. And then you just felt like, listen, if my daughter has her mama back, how can I not tell people? So tell us about that. You started to tell people, and then
so this is before Facebook Lives, right? Or Instagram Live. That wasn't even a thing really. And I decided to just record a video. It was 6 minutes long, and I hadn't washed my hair in 4 days, which is pretty much the same right now. I didn't have makeup on, except my skin was not clear like it is right now. I have no makeup on right now. And the reason I did that is because I used to have breakouts all over my face. I had very uneven skin. It wasn't soft. I've struggled with acne since I was about 13 years old. I was actually on antibiotics for 6 years straight in high school and college to control my acne. And now I can get on any training anytime with no makeup on and feel so confident because my skin is so clear, and I'm almost 40, you guys. I'm so grateful for our products. So I made this video and I thought nobody would watch it. I remember thinking like, well, maybe if like one person sees it. And what happened is I was inundated with messages from people saying, oh my gosh, I didn't want to say anything. I've been suffering in silence too. Like, it makes me feel so good that I know I'm not alone. And I have chills when I tell that part of the story, because for me as a woman, to find out that my friends are suffering with something and I had no idea. I mean, these are my best friends that were messaging me. And to find out that they were just as miserable as I was, and that I had an answer to that problem for them, it was so empowering. And I just started telling them everything they needed to buy, which was exactly what I started with. I started with the pink drink, the probiotic, the magnesium, and the multivitamin. And now I make everybody buy the anti-inflammatory ease product as well. But I had everybody start with those products. And what I saw was all of my friends were feeling better, just like I was. Hair stopped falling out, mood issues went away, puffy face. Like, my face used to be really round and circular, and now it's just not. I look younger now than I did 4 years ago. And And then with my milk supply, if you're a man, it's not going to make you make milk. So don't worry about that. Just like, don't stress about that. And if you are not lactating, it will not do that to you either. So it just balances your body and brings it up to its own homeostasis. Okay. So I did all of those things, and my friends started having the same experiences, and they started talking to people, and I was so energized. I didn't even know how badly I needed a community of women and friends to talk to and enjoy life with, because I was so involved in my kids' life, and I still am, but I missed all those friendships that I had in college and high school. And my husband has all these friends from it now as well. So I love the community part of it. It's not just the health, but also the community. And as my friends have shared, and as I have continued to share, we are free of $125,000 in debt, you guys. And my husband only works 3 days a week. And the way that we did that is every single person that we have ever had come to mind of maybe this could help them, we messaged them, we called them. We like to think of them 6 months from now. So what would my unhealthy friend want me to say to them 6 months from now when they're feeling great? And that is why I message people. I think of my friends who are miserable and unhappy and can't pay their bills. I used to stay up at night stressed about money. That was my biggest fear every night, was how much money can I transfer from the savings account to the checking account to clear the mortgage till I can get it back into the savings account to pay the taxes. And it was just this like back and forth, like not enough money to be in any account ever, trying to just make sure we didn't bounce any checks. And so Plexus has given us the freedom to go to bed with free, happy minds that aren't worried about our bank accounts. I only open my bank account once a month, you guys, and that's on payday when I get paid, and I go in and I pay my credit card off in full every month. I put money into my savings account. I put money into my kids' college accounts. We pay off our business credit cards and all of our things. And then we put the rest into savings. And it is the most incredible feeling on earth to be debt-free, because true wealth is not how much money you make, it's debt freedom. And that's what this opportunity has given us. True wealth, debt freedom, the ability to say yes instead of no, the ability to have my husband home 2 days, only work 3 days a week. We basically have a Saturday every other day. He makes pancakes for us on Saturday mornings, something we never got to do before Plexus because he left at 5 a.m. to go treat patients. So whatever problem that you are having in your life, I want you to know that Plexus can solve all of them, even the ones that you don't think it can. I lost 40 pounds with Plexus because I stopped craving sugar. And apparently, when you eat chocolate peanut butter ice cream every night to calm your anxiety from your 4 kids that you like intentionally had, all of them, you lose 40 pounds. And I love that it still tastes good, but I don't want it. So I'll take a bite, and I have this built-in willpower.
I could listen to her all night. I don't know about you guys, but that story, I just love it. She talks about financial freedom, health freedom, the freedom to say yes, choices. And I really like something she pointed out. So if you were a guest watching this, I want you to hear this. You may feel like whoever invited you to this, you might kind of have in the back of your mind, they're just trying to sell me something. They just want me to do this quote unquote diet thing with them. Like they all thought, no, I promise you that they are thinking about the 6-month version of you. They want to hear your story of having milk supply and dropping the weight and kicking the anxiety and no more sugar cravings and having that freedom. Because once you get a taste of that freedom, you cannot go back, and you want everybody else to know. So that skepticism is definitely something that our next speaker, Ryan, was super familiar with. She lives in super cold Wisconsin with her hubby and her 2 boys. Her favorite thing to do to stay warm is go to the gym and then hang out in the sauna afterwards. She says that when she heard about Plexus 5.5 years ago, she hated it, did not want to hear the name, and wanted nothing to do with it. She thought people were just selling snake oil to make money. So if you feel that way, we get it. But what she learned was that when her friend gifted her some and begged her to try it, that she saw it change her life. Gluten sensitivity, malnutrition, hair loss, so much more. So take us back to that period of time when you were getting those infusions of vitamins into your body, that unhealthy phase, what you thought of Plexus, why you gave it a try, and the health transformation it did for you.
Sure. Okay. So, all of that is true. I hated Plexus. I did not like the feeling of somebody out there who was a stay-at-home mom, which would just have been a dream to me. I was working full-time. Getting to make money off of trying to sell me snake oil just really, really bothered me. But I was super, super unhealthy. And for a long time, I didn't know why. It was so unexplained. It didn't make sense. I felt like I was, I think most people probably just thought I was a hypochondriac, but it kind of became obvious. I had a lot of physical signs. My body actually got down. I remember very clearly standing in the hematologist's office, standing on the scale and seeing it hit 109. I was 109 pounds. And not totally not getting why I would be that small. I was not a health nut like a lot of people talked about. I was pounding back probably 5 to 8 cans of soda a day. When I would get my paycheck, I would cash it, and we were broke, but I would get enough money out so I could stock my fridge at work with soda and stock my fridge at home with soda. That's how sadly addicted I was to Coca-Cola Classic. I would rather have a Coke than have a meal, because a lot of times when I would eat, I would have such pain. I made a lot of ER visits back in the day before Plexus. Visiting the ER because of severe abdominal pain was unfortunately very common. I spent a lot of nights laying on my bathroom floor in pain. I remember often going from the bathtub to the side of the toilet, back into the bathtub, and it was just, there was just not a whole lot of answers. So of course, after a lot of lab work and tests, they kind of come to me and restrict my diet big time. I actually had a small part of my small intestines removed and taken out, analyzed. And so I was put on this strict diet. But even at that, you know, when you have a baby and like all that glorious hair you get kind of starts to come out. Well, all that glorious hair I had, I mean, my baby was, way past baby, but the hair was still coming out. And y'all also remember like that cute, like side pony thing that went on for a while? I wore that on purpose that way almost every day because it was covering up the bald spots that I had on my head. And so just a lot of really unexplained things, and people could look at me and physically tell that I was not well. And people were concerned. I remember my assistant at work coming in and saying, "What do we do for you?" Because I just looked very, very sick. I had over 6 figures in medical debt because, like everybody else, I was doing the thing, paying. I fell in that, what does she call it? The something.
Government, yeah.
Yeah, I fell in that. I made just a little bit too much for assistance. Yet we did all the right things at my house. We went to college and got the degrees. We did all the things, and we just had this pile of weight of loans. I was at the top of where my career was going to take me, and yet it felt like I was nowhere because I could not cover my bills and my expenses. But you were asking me about health stuff. I mean, one thing that I really remember is just never being able to sleep. When your body does not absorb the nutrition that you need, and I was not absorbing nutrition, period. So the hematologist would work up a cocktail for me and feed it to me intravenously every 2 weeks to every month. And sometimes I would have to get blood just to raise my hemoglobin level. And they really could not tell me why, besides don't eat this and let's cross our fingers. And that's kind of how I lived for 4 years. And it it was not fun, but I did it. And I just thought that that's the way it had to be. When you live life like that, I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to lay there for 4.5 hours trying to fall asleep. I thought everybody just gets in bed and lays in bed for 4.5 hours trying to fall asleep. But when your body doesn't absorb the nutrition, everything is off. My muscles needed nutrients that they couldn't get. And when they didn't have it, they were constantly moving to keep me awake. And so, yeah, that's kind of what life was like before Plexus entered.
And I think it's so interesting for people to hear that, Allison lost a ton of weight with this. Emily lost weight with this. Ryan did not need to lose weight, and it didn't make her lose weight. Some of them were sleeping a lot and it wasn't helping, and she couldn't get to sleep. So the thing is these products are an all natural tool that goes in and basically restores your body to the way that it's supposed to function. It's not snake oil like she first thought. So when you gave it a try, what did you notice? And then tell us a little bit about, I know you and your husband follow Dave Ramsey and you live like no one else, so you can live like no one else. So what does making almost $500,000 a year sharing this not so snaky snake oil with people to change their lives, what has that done for your financial future?
Sure. Okay. Well, my good friend Jessica gifted me the products. I ignored her, blocked her, unfriended her. And I've been told I can be a little bit intimidating to approach. And she bossed up. We call her Boss F sometimes. She bossed up and came to my school. I was a school administrator. I ran a school. She came up to my school into my office to talk to me about Plexus. I was like, I cannot believe she's doing this. And I flat out had to tell her, I cannot buy it. I cannot buy it. And she gifted it to me, and I told her, I'm going to take it. And when it doesn't work, I'm going to blast you and tell everybody that you're a fraud and you're stealing people's money, because this is not right. But because she gave it to me, I took it religiously. I did what she said. And so that first week, I had pretty bad, horrible adult acne. That first week, I kind of noticed that my skin was clearing up. And that might have to do with the fact that I wasn't pounding back 8 cans of soda a day. I actually loved the taste of Slim, which shocked me because I was really nervous I was going to have to gag down something disgusting. And I loved the way Slim tastes. And so it was something I enjoyed doing every morning, waking up. And then I was drinking water. And I don't know, sorry, my kids. I was drinking water, and I hadn't been doing that before. And then I remember one day coming home from work, and I didn't get home from work usually until about 6:30. And I had put my kids to bed, but I fell asleep like in my clothes. I woke up the next morning. I was like, why am I wearing I slept for the first time ever. And that was, I actually kept a diary of that. I think that was like day 7 or day 8 that I slept. And then it was like, this is getting real. And of course, Jessica, she was checking in with me every day. I was mortified, embarrassed to tell her. I was like, I love it. I didn't want to tell her. It's so good. I'm sleeping. I was like, and of course, after time, I was having such huge success. I mean, my hair grew in, and it got to be nice and thick and long. And I for vanity reasons, I thought I'm never going to stop. I still didn't have the money. I borrowed the money from my in-laws. They gifted me the money, and then to sign up. So I signed up for the wholesale prices on gifted money. And then I saw the Plexus compensation plan online the same night that I put my baby to bed hungry, because we were out of formula and there was negative in the bank account. And that night totally changed everything for me. I saw the power of 3, something you'll learn about if you get into Plexus. And I saw this number. It was close to $15,000. I thought, man, if I can make that much money, that's like more than $1,000 a month to buy groceries. That was going to be a game changer. And Boss Hef called me up on the phone like 2 or 3 a.m. and she was like, girl, that is not a year. That is a month. And I was like, the products totally gave me my health back. And I knew, like, I had prayed for so long, God, give me something to change my health. Give me something to change my finances. It was like an instant answered prayer. I got my health back, my finances back from that time that I started to a year. I made it to emerald in a year, and now I'm a diamond, and we are living like no one else in this tiny little house in Wisconsin, which we actually really love. We only have one little bathroom for our family of 4, but I am retired from my job. My husband is retired from his job. He is a gourmet chef, so I get 3 gourmet meals a day. It's wonderful. I mean, we just kind of get to live our dream life and save up for our dream home one day, probably back in the South where it's a little bit warmer. But for now, we get to experience life here because of the freedom of this income. It's been such a huge blessing, and I'm still very healthy. 5.5 years in, I still take my triplex and my X Factor every single day, and I would not go a day without them.
No more vitamin infusions. I love
That's
that.
right. I have not had one since I signed up.
That's amazing. I got chills when you talked about putting your baby to bed hungry and then looking at what this opportunity could do for you. Maybe that's what this event is doing for some of you. Maybe you're sitting there thinking about the bill on your kitchen counter that you don't know how you're going to pay. Or you're sitting there thinking, yes, I can relate to her. I'm about to go have to lay in my bed for 5 hours and hope that I can sleep and go to work tomorrow and chug down soda to be able to make it through the day. Maybe you're like Emily. I can't afford the formula. You're thinking of these things and they are real. And we want you to know that we understand, but just maybe that's the reason why you're on this call tonight, because these products and this opportunity truly could change everything for you. I cannot wait for you to hear from the last speaker, my friend Krista. She loves ice skating and ice sledding with her family, probably loves traveling with them even more. She has got a family of 10, including a hubby and 8 kids, ranging from toddler to teenager. So mom is busy. But 5 years ago, when she heard about Plexus, she said it was a hard no. She also had the misperception that it was this diet drink filled with chemicals and artificial sweeteners and that was not going to be healthy for her. But when she saw it help with her anxiety and depression, she knew that it was life-changing and she had to tell people about it. Krista, I know that you talked about one night when your husband thought that you wouldn't even come home. Can you take us to that place and what was going on in your mind?
Yeah, totally. So I apologize in advance too if I end up getting choked up, but it was October 2014. The date will be forever embedded in my mind. 2 dates will, and I'll get to the second date later. But I had hit rock bottom and I left. I left my family. I had just had baby number 7, and we had walked through a lot, and I'll explain in a moment, but I just couldn't think clearly, couldn't see clearly, and decided that was it. That my husband needed a new wife, my kids need a new mom, and in just without saying a word to anybody, I just remember grabbing the keys and in this fog leaving. In our clunky minivan, over 250,000 miles, handle was broken off. I mean, the paint was chipping off. It was just ridiculous on top of it. But I remember getting in that van, bawling, trying to figure out where is a lake that I can drive into, or what do I crash into? How can I end this as quick as possible? Because I had reached this place where my life was too painful to live. What I didn't realize was that what I was dealing with, it wasn't just hard circumstances. Like, yes, our life was hard and it still is hard. We had walked through a decade of financial issues first, losing everything. And then as we were kind of climbing out of that pit of debt and having lost our home and our pride and ego, we had our 6th child, Judah, and he had 2 spontaneous brain hemorrhages that destroyed 75% of his brain. We were told he wouldn't live, and if he did, he'd be blind, brain dead, and deaf. And so we had been crunchy. I had my babies at home, healthy. None of my kids had ever had an antibiotic. But we were sent into a world of doctors and therapists and specialists and questions, as well as accusations. They assumed we had abused our son. Once they realized that wasn't the case, they said, you know what, if you would have just given your son a vitamin K shot at birth, he was a home birth, this would have never happened to you. And so as a mom, I was carrying shame. I was like, every time he cried, every time he struggled, he's 8 years old, he can't sit up, he can't feed himself, he can't do anything for himself. He can't crawl or walk. He deals with epilepsy as well and hydrocephalus. He's legally blind. So every time there was a struggle, anytime any of my children cried because of the way our whole world changed, guess who carried that blame? I did, with a voice on my shoulder that if you didn't exist, your family would be so much better off. But when you're dealing with heart pain and you're dealing with hard circumstances, but your hormones are also all over the place, it is hard to think clearly, and it's hard to heal, and it's hard to recover, and it's hard to move forward, And so that night, praise God, I did come home, obviously still here today. I came home to a broken husband. It was probably close to midnight. Kids were in bed. He was sitting on the couch. I've never seen him like that before. And his first words as I walked in were, "I didn't think you'd come home." And later he went on to tell me that he assumed either he'd find out I had died or he would need to divorce me because it was just getting to be too hard. It was just too much. And so that kind of started the conversation. It was the first time I was really raw with him as to how dark it was. And I said, "Chad, I don't want to come back. I don't want to be here. You need to help me figure out how to end this. This can't go on. I can't live like this." I hated going to sleep because I knew I'd have to wake up and do it all again. Like, life was too much. And I remember seeing my pastor that Sunday, and I said, "I don't believe any of this anymore. I don't believe it." And she had such clarity in that moment. And she looked at me wagging her cute little southern finger. This was in Florida, not cold Minnesota back then. And she said, "Your hormones need to balance. This is your hormones speaking to me right now. And we need to balance your hormones or stop having babies." And so really that was what got Chad and I talking, because we were like, okay, cool. How do I balance my hormones? Like what? I was already taking supplements, B12 injections, progesterone cream, all kinds of things. I had dealt with a lot of health struggles because as a caregiver, and just the stress and all that, I think it just took a toll on my body, obviously. And so I was sitting with Chad, made a handshake deal. I said, "There's this girl I met at a homeschool co-op, and I don't know her super well, but she sells some drink and she thinks it'll help me." I had ignored her follow-ups. I had told her no. But it was the only other thing I could think of. I already tried everything else. It was the one thing I did not want to try, but the only thing left to try. And so we didn't have a whole lot of cash, but it was cheaper than a doctor visit because we were self-employed. And so we made a deal. We knew there was a money back guarantee. So Chad said, "Okay, try it for 60 days. If it doesn't work, get your money back." And then if that was the case, I knew I'd be checking myself into a treatment center after that.
Every single time I hear that, I just want to give you the biggest hug, and I have to fight back tears. Your story is absolutely amazing, and I am so grateful that your friend kept reaching out to you despite the fact that you ignored her, because she was doing exactly what Emily said earlier. She saw that 6-month version of you. And so you made a deal with your husband, you gave this a try. And one thing I love is that when your life changed, I've heard you say before that this whole opportunity, these products, this business, it's a deposit into your life from the Lord, and you have to do right by it and steward it well. And you have changed so many lives. So tell us that. Tell us how it changed your life, your family's life, and what sharing it with your friends and family has done for you and your family's financial freedom.
Yeah, for sure. So I started just on Slim. I was a preferred customer because I wanted a deal, but didn't quite want to join everything, I started drinking it daily. I knew enough about health to know it wasn't going to be some quick fix, and I had to be consistent. I had to do what she said to do. Pretty quickly I started drinking 2 a day. So I'm a consistent 2 a day girl, actually, because if I felt like a panic attack coming on, or was losing my breath and the heart was racing, I grabbed another one and it would subside. And that was catching me off guard. Like, whoa. So sometimes mama even had a third, but I was like really starting to see a pattern, still in secret, still hiding in my cupboard. Didn't want anyone to know because I really felt what I had before was, it had to be the best of the best, but second month in, I feel like that's when I started noticing, like, I think I'm feeling better, but I didn't want to say anything because maybe it was in my head, or maybe I was just healed and just happened to be at the same time as this drink, but friends started saying, "Krista, like there's light in your eyes. Your smile's brighter. You just seem like you're happier." My kids said, "Mommy, you don't cry every day like you used to." My husband in December, end of December, looked at me. I can still picture him standing by our Keurig coffee maker. I was across the way and I had been doing the hoedown with my kids. And he looked at me and he said, I have my wife back. I haven't seen you like this in years. So I just felt present. I would wake up feeling like, yeah, my life's hard, but we got this. Circumstances hadn't changed, but I had changed. I could think clearly again. I could see things clearly. I could see like little stuff, like the fact that I could have the like clarity to pick up the vacuum and vacuum. And that's so simple, but I didn't have that before. My husband and children were running the home because mommy was in fetal position over it all. So as they started noticing changes, it was confirming like this is really doing something for me. So as we came into the new year, I remember Chad was considering shifting what he was doing professionally because we were not making ends meet. We needed fundraisers for my son Judah every 6 months to make, to take care of his medical bills and therapies and all of that. I remember asking him, like, Chad, can you hold off on that, on making that move? I think God's about to do something. Not thinking plexus, for sure. I had just had a 7th child and I homeschooled and took care of Judah. So this wasn't on my mind, but I just really had a stirring in my heart that God was going to do something. January 6th, I ran out of Slim. And it was enough to have a day without it to realize, okay, these changes I'm seeing really are this drink. And so January 7th, when my order came, I was still a preferred customer. In a moment of I don't even know what, in the middle of the day, I decided people have to know about this. All I could think about is what if there's one more person that's on my Facebook or my Instagram and they're struggling like me in secret, like me, where everyone else thinks their life is fine, but they too are on the verge of taking their life. What if I'm honest and I actually tell my truth? Will this change their life? And if so, it's worth it. And so I just blasted, I put it out there, who I really was and what I really had struggled with. And I think it was Emily that was sharing, like the messages that came in rocked me, realizing that people I went to church with and did life with weren't doing well. We were all putting on a face, all saying, hey, as we walked to Sunday school, but we weren't doing good. And so that just furthered the passion, like, to realize people need this. And from that space, like there's no better way to actually be paid on top of it. Like that's just icing on the cake. I would pay to do what I do because I see lives changed constantly. And because this is what God put in my hands to do, so I am very passionate about that. This is what he put in my lap to do. I'm not going to pray for a breakthrough in my finances for a decade and then just sit on the very opportunity he plops in my lap. That's foolish. So we ran with it. And every month my income increased, while every month my husband's income actually ended up decreasing. But by the end, I don't know, I feel like it was 6 months in, I had matched his income anyways. We stopped meeting the fundraisers, and we just began to dream again that he could be home full time with us, that he could help with Judah, that he could homeschool with me, that we could do life, we could travel, we could do what we had wanted to do. We had been exposed to network marketing when we were newlyweds. We met families who lived free, who weren't held back by a job and whether or not they could get off work, who were free, and they pursued each other as husband and wife, they pursued their children, and they pursued life to the fullest. That seed was planted in us. And so for it to come back around, it just lit a fire in us, that God, he knew the mess, but he was so faithful to not just restore my body, but bring an opportunity along with it too.
Girl, that's amazing. Some of the things she said that just keep ringing in my head. Pursue life to the fullest. Absolutely. That is what this gives us the opportunity to do. And looking back over tonight, you had a daughter tell her mom that she was nice again. You had a husband tell his wife that he had her back. Krista's right. People need to know about this. And that's why we want you to hear about this too. If you are in the 8% of people, or you want to be in the 8% of people that sees their goals become a reality, that sees a transformation in your health this year, that joins a tribe of people that have your back, that sees a transformation in your life to live it to the fullest in your financial freedom, then do this with us. I would love for you to do 3 things. I want you to message the friend who invited you, and I want you to tell them what your health goals are, because maybe you've been suffering in silence like so many people that we know and care about. So tell them, hey, this is where I'm at. Do you think this could help me? And then they're going to recommend what they think that you should start with, and then trust them. Get started. Give these amazing products a try. And in doing so, you're also going to join a tribe of accountability partners. You're going to be a part of a community. And we can't wait to hear your story too of your resolutions realized. Thank you so much for coming.